This is a discussion on diabetes mellitus as one of your endocrine disorders. So before we begin, let's have a quick review on the functions of your pancreas. Remember, class, that your pancreas is a member of two different systems. It could either be an exocrine organ and it could also be an endocrine organ. As an exocrine organ, the function of the pancreas is relates to the secretion of pancreatic juices. And these pancreatic juices are essential for the digestion of food. So the pancreas are comprised of your cells called your acinine cells, which are responsible for the formation of these pancreatic juices. From the pancreas, it goes to the small intestines where food becomes digested. When we speak of pancreatic juices, there are three different kinds. Number one, you can have an amylase. You also have lipase, and you have trypsin. Your amylase is responsible for the digestion of carbohydrates. Lipase is for the digestion of fats, and trypsin is for the digestion of proteins. So the pancreas is an exocrine organ which is responsible for the secretion of these juices, making it as an accessory digestive organ. But that is not our concern. Our concern here is on the function of the pancreas as an endocrine organ. As an endocrine organ, instead of secreting juices, your pancreas would have to secrete hormones which are released to the body by means of diffusion. When we say diffusion, this refers to the movement of particles from an area of greater concentration to an area of lesser concentration. So who produces these hormones and what are these hormones? If your exocrine glands are comprised of acinine cells, your endocrine gland, pancreas, are comprised of islets of Langerhans. And your islets of Langerhans are in two forms. You have an alpha cell and a beta cell. The alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans will secrete glucagon. And your beta cells, on the other hand, will secrete insulin. Unsa may difference aning duha? Ang glucagon will elevate your blood sugar when the blood sugar is low, while insulin will decrease your blood sugar when the blood sugar is high. Meaning, in emergency situations where the blood sugar of the patient is very low, atong pwede hatagan og sugar crystals, pwede na to hatagan og hard candy, pwede na to hatagan orange juice, honey, soda, crackers, pwede, no? Pero what if the patient is unconscious and there is a severe case of hypoglycemia? What will the nurse expect to give? The nurse expects to give glucagon via intravenous administration. So glucagon IV, because glucagon is a hormone responsible for increasing the level of sugar in the body. On the other hand, your beta cells is responsible for the secretion of insulin. Your insulin is responsible for lowering the blood sugar level when the blood sugar level is high. Unsa man na siyang insulin. Okay? Ang insulin, think of it nga mura na siya og yawi. It is responsible for opening the cells so that your glucose can enter into the cells. Meaning, kung naa kay yawi, makasulod ka sa cell. Pero kung wala kay yawi, dili pud ka kasulod sa cell. Okay? If you remember our first discussion class on the cells are comprised of organelles. And one of your organelle is a sausage-shaped structure called the mitochondria. Okay? The mitochondria or the sausage-shaped structure is otherwise known as the powerhouse of the cell. Why do you call it the powerhouse of the cell? Because this is the part of the cell where power is formed. How is power formed? Remember, you use glucose. You use oxygen in order to form power in the form of ATP, and at the same time, you produce heat. This entire process class is what we call metabolism. So for as long as there is metabolism, there will be consumption of glucose, there will be consumption of oxygen. Ang tao mo kaon, ang tao mo ginhawa. So as long as mukaon ka, mo ginhawa ka, you are buhig. You have ATP or power, and ang tao init. Such that kung ang tao wa na mukaon, wa na mo ginhawa, then ang tao becomes bugnaw. This is what we call as metabolism. And this happens inside the cell. Meaning to say, class, if metabolism requires glucose, you need to bring glucose into the cell. So to illustrate, if this is your blood vessel, nga ni kaon kag pamahaw, let's say imong gikaon pancake. So in the blood vessel, musulod na ang imuhang glucose. But the blood glucose or the glucose in the blood should not remain in the blood. It has to be transmitted to the insides of the cell. Ngano man, gamiton man nimo siya for metabolism. Remember, metabolism is glucose plus oxygen is equal to ATP and heat. So kung mukaon ta, maabot na siya sa atong dugo, katong naa sa dugo nga glucose, isulod niya dito sa atoang cell and becomes a raw material for metabolism to happen. But it is not as easy as it may seem. Kinahanglan kag yawi to open the cell. What is that yawi again? That is your insulin. So every single cell class has a receptor site for insulin. So kung naay glucose sa dugo, then the pancreas, the beta cells, will secrete insulin, attaches to the receptor sites, and the cells will open so that glucose can enter. And glucose becomes a raw material for your metabolism to happen. Now, if there is a defect in the aspect of insulin, then that becomes a case of diabetes mellitus. Again, remember, ang insulin murag yawi. Siya ang moabli sa cell para ang glucose nga naa sa dugo musulod didto sa imuhang cells. So diabetes mellitus is a condition which is characterized by a problem in the levels or in the existence of your insulin. So there are 3 different kinds of diabetes mellitus. Type 1 diabetes mellitus. Type 1 or your insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus is your first kind. You also have a second kind or your type 2 diabetes mellitus, which is otherwise known as your non-insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. So how do we compare the two? Ang kaning insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus, it occurs as early as childhood. So we describe insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus as your juvenile onset DM. No? So commonly, mo start ni siya exist class at the age of 6 years old, or sometimes children are born with it. So this is your juvenile onset. Ang second type of diabetes mellitus is one which is of an adult onset. So mugawas na siya kung mudako na ka. And the causes of these two are different. Ang insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus is hereditary. Okay? Heredity. While your non-insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus could be attributed to diet, okay? Sedentary lifestyle, or even obesity. Okay? So you see the difference in the causes. And your type 2 DM is the more common type, where 90% of the cases are type 2, while only 10% is type 1. So, unsa may difference gyud ani nila pathophysiologically? Ang insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus is a case where there is a defect in the beta cells such that the person does not have insulin. So, meaning to say, ang type 1 is the absence of insulin. The absence of the yawi that will open the cell so that glucose could have entered. Wa man kay insulin sa type 1. Ang sa type 2 class is what we call as the condition attributed to resistance to insulin. kana bitong gipul-an na ang imong lawas sa imong insulin, kana bitong sigihan na lang kag pasakit, sigihan na lang kag pasakit hangtod di na lang kasakitan. Mao pud ang usa ka tawo. Sige kaon og tamis, sige kaon og tamis, release kag insulin. Tamis, insulin, tamis, insulin, and the cycle continues because of a very wrong habit. So madugay ni-resist na ang imong lawas sa imong own insulin. So looking at this, how would you manage type 1? Kung type 1 is the absence of insulin, unsa may imong itambal? O di natural, hataga nimo og insulin. Okay? Ang type 2, if there is resistance to insulin, pwede ba si type 2 akong injeksyonan og insulin? The answer is no. The primary management for non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus is not the injection of insulin because precisely kay balo man ka that there is resistance to that insulin. So unsa may akong ihatag? Then I would have to give oral hypoglycemics. Kay if di ko muhatag og oral hypoglycemic, ang complication ana class is your HHNK. Your hyperosmolar, hyperglycemic, non-ketotic diabetes mellitus. On the other hand, kung di ko muhatag og insulin sa type 1 diabetes mellitus, what would be the complication? No? The complication would be your diabetic ketoacidosis. So as early as now, unsa may pinaka-hallmark of DKA, unsa nimo pagkaibaw nga ang tawo na ay DKA, you look at number 1, the rate of breathing. What do you call the pattern of breathing? You call it as your Kussmaul's breathing. So unsay pattern niya kung tan-aw ni i-compare nimo og ECG, ang breathing pattern sa tawo nga nay Kussmaul's, unsa may ECG pattern niya? Di ba? This is your Kussmaul's breathing. So unsa man ni nga ECG pattern? Do you remember your monomorphic ventricular tachycardia? Okay? So Kussmaul's, paspas. Because in acidosis, there is since there is metabolic acidosis, then our lungs would have to compensate by blowing off the carbon dioxide, mao nang mupaspas. Kay og maghipos pa kag carbon dioxide, mosamot kag acidotic. Diba? CO2 plus water is equal to carbonic acid. So kung naa kay state of acidosis, the question is, will the lungs keep oxygen, carbon dioxide, or will it blow it off? It will have to blow it off, ilabay ang carbon dioxide because it's an extra acid. Okay? And how about the breath odor of the patient? Kung sa may breath odor niya, you will have to notice your fruity breath odor or your acetone breath. Okay? So now, let's look into the pathophysiology of your diabetes mellitus. Unsa may itong nahibawan? Di ba DM class na ay 3Ps plus weight loss? Okay? Polyphagia, polyuria, polydipsia. Okay? So diin manigika, nganong naaman ni siya nga mga symptoms? Well, it all begins class with your insulin. Okay. So unsa to'y problema nato sa DM? Depende. Kung type 1 DM, wala kay insulin. Kung type 2 DM, naa kay resistance to insulin. So there is a problem in your insulin. Kung wala kay insulin, what would happen? Wala kay yawi. So kung wala kay yawi, katong glucose nga naa sa dugo cannot be brought into the cells. So there will be no food inside the cell. Okay? So gigutom ang imuhang cell. So since there is no food inside the cell, we can consider two things. Number 1, there will be a state of cell starvation. Okay? Or number 2, there could be increased glucose in the blood. Okay? Diba? Kung mauning imong ugat. Unsay sulod sa ugat, you have glucose there. Should glucose stay in the blood? No, it should be brought into the cells. Unsaon sa cell, gamiton siya as a raw material for metabolism para ang tao buhi. But for the glucose to enter into the cell, kinahanglan ka og insulin. Okay? Now, so if there is no insulin, then the food or the glucose cannot enter into the cells such that the cell will undergo a state of starvation. So kung gigutom ang imong cell, this will send signals to the appetite centers of the brain. Unsa may appetite center of the brain? Your hypothalamus. So kung gigutom ka, ang cell nimo gigutom, it will send signals to the hypothalamus in order to increase your appetite. Okay? Kay ni-increase man ang imong appetite, what will happen? You will keep on eating. Walay pagkabusog, sige og kaon. And what do you call that symptom? You call that condition as polyphagia. Okay? So this is your first P among the 3 P's in diabetes mellitus. On the other side, di ba class, ang glucose wala nakasulod into the cell. So mo na nga kung kuhaan kag blood sugar, tuslok pak, uy, taasan ako blood sugar, uy. Taas kag blood sugar kay kana nga sugar wa ta na dapat sa dugo, dapat didto na sa imuhang cell. So you will have an elevated level of glucose in the blood. If there is much glucose in the blood, consider 2 things. Number 1, there will be increased viscosity. Okay? Viscosity in the sense nga ang imuhang dugo is pilit kaayo. So kung pilit kaayo, compare water and honey. Og imo nang palumbaon og dagan, kinsay kusog mo dagan? It's plain water because honey is very viscous. The flow is sluggish. So kung sluggish ang imuhang dagan sa dugo because of the increased viscosity, grabe kapilit ang imuhang dugo, then there will be reduced tissue perfusion. And when there's reduced tissue perfusion, ang unang maapektuhan class are the microvascular areas in the body. Kana ganing ugat nga pino. So kung ang imong dugo is sluggish, imong dugo is paga, maglisod na siya agi sa ugat. Labi na kung ang ugat nimo is gagmay. Asa man ta makakita og organs nga pinakagagmay. These are the microvascular areas in the body. Just like your retina. Mao na kung pilit ang imong dugo, baga ang consistency sa dugo, muhinay ang dagan sa dugo padulong sa retina. And that is the reason why we develop retinopathy or blindness in patients with diabetes mellitus. Another microvascular area class are your kidneys, your nephrons. Okay? Such that kung gamay ra ang dugo nga makaagi dito sa kidney, kay ang ugat sa kidney pino, dili makasulod ang dugo nga baga, then you will develop nephropathy. So daghan sa mga diabetic patients will undergo dialysis later on. Okay? And another microvascular area in the body is your neuron. Okay? So ang imuhang mga neurons, microvascular po siya such that when there's no blood supply to the neurons, then it gets damaged and you call that condition as neuropathy. So you see there are 3 pathies, retinopathy, nephropathy, and neuropathy as a complication of DM simply because of the poor tissue perfusion to these areas. Ano man? Because these areas are microvascular. And you would also notice, class, that when the blood is viscous, there will be delayed wound healing. So kung ang tao masamad, kung ang tao masamad, dugay maayok basta naa kay diabetes. Ngano man? Because hinay man ang dagan sa imuhang dugo. Okay? So some might ask, ngano man ang pasyente basta naay diabetes, di man siya maka-feel nga natunok na di ay siya. Ano man? Because of the tingling sensations that is being felt there, no? Naamurag binhod sa iyahang tiil such that di siya ka-feel nga natusok na di siya or natunok na di siya. What do you call that numbness or tingling sensation in the extremities or in the feet most commonly? You call that as paresthesia. Okay? So that's one aspect kung taas ang glucose sa imuhang dugo. If ang glucose sa dugo taas, aside from it becoming highly viscous, this will also lead to diuresis. Magsigi ka og ihi. Ngano man? Because glucose is an osmotic diuretic. And the kidney hates glucose. Makadawat ganina siya glucose nga grabe ra, iyahagid ng ipagawas. Okay? Iyagid ng ilabay. The kidney will get rid of excess glucose in the blood. Pero muutong pa na siya, class. Kung naa kay 130, 140 milligrams per DL, dili pa na. Diba? We know that up to 110 ang ato ang level of normal glucose in the blood. So kung 120, 130, di pa ka mangihi og glucose ang class. Pero kung maabot na kag 180, taas na gani kaayo, then ang imong ihi will have glucose in it. I'm not sure you call it, I think, acetic acid test in your CHN. Tan-awon nimo kung naabay glucose. I'm not sure if it's the Benedict or the acetic acid, but I think it's the acetic acid which tests whether naaba kay glucose sa imuhang ihi. So kung nanagani na glucose ang imong ihi, pasabot anak grabe na gyud kataas ang imuhang sugar. Kay ang imuhang kidney muutong pa man na siya. Mo 120, 130, 140, 150, 160 di pa ka mangihi og glucose. Pero moabot na gani ka sa threshold na 180. Muawas na ang glucose didto sa ihi, and you call it as glycosuria. So since your increased glucose in the blood is an osmotic diuretic, then the patient manifests polyuria. And this is the second P in your 3 Ps. And as a compensation to polyuria, sige man kag-ihi, then your thirst is activated. That's why you will have polydipsia. Sige pud ka og inom. And this is the third P in your patients with diabetes mellitus. So there are, again, 3 kinds of diabetes mellitus. You have type 1, or your juvenile onset DM, your type 2, or your adult onset DM, and you have your third type of diabetes mellitus, which is called as gestational DM. Gestational diabetes mellitus is attributable to pregnancy. So this is the kind of DM which happens when a patient is pregnant. So dili ka diabetic, pero pag mabdos nimo nahimo na kang diabetic, or diabetic na kadaan pag mabdos nimo nisamot ang imuhang diabetes. Nganong naamang kay gestational DM class? Because you have a placenta. The placenta is an endocrine organ. It secretes hormones like estrogen, hormone like progesterone, hormone like human chorionic gonadotropin, and hormone like HPL, human placental lactogen. Ang estrogen is responsible for the development of the uterus. Meaning, kung naakay placenta, naakay estrogen, ug mudako ang imong bata, ang imong uterus, mudako pod in order to accommodate a growing fetus. So this explains the rupture of an ectopic pregnancy. Kung ang bata mutubo sa fallopian tube, magkadako, mubuto ang fallopian tube. Pero kung ang bata magtubo sa uterus, mudako, nganong mudako man ang uterus. So you see, because estrogen has an influence, or your estrogen can make the uterus grow, but not the fallopian tube. Okay? How about your progesterone? The hormone progesterone is your hormone pampakapit. Ang opposite anak class is pampalaglag, which is prostaglandin. So when you have progesterone, the baby is attached to the decidua or to the uterus. So kung nagani kay mga spotting during pregnancy, nagani kay threatened abortion during pregnancy, unsa maihatag? Pampakapit. And what hormone is that? Progesterone. Because progesterone relaxes your smooth muscles just like your uterus. And this also explains why pregnant women have constipation, because naman sila progesterone. What does progesterone do? Relaxation of the smooth muscles. Just like your uterus, just like your GIT. Mao nang naa kay constipation. Your HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. This hormone causes reverse peristalsis. And this explains why kung mabdos ka, magsuka-suka ka, especially on day 100 of your pregnancy. Kay maunay pinaka-peak sa imuhang HCG. So may buntang nganong magsuka-suka man gyud basta mabdos. Ngano man gyud kasukaon gyud basta mabdos. Kay naamang kay HCG. Unsa day epekto sa HCG? Reverse peristalsis. So imbis downward ang peristalsis, mura siyag upward. So inikaon nimo, feeling nimo imo ra pud siyang isuka. And HCG is very important. Ngano man? Because the placenta is regarded as a foreign body. It's a foreign material. So if it's a foreign material, our immune system should have attacked the placenta. But it did not do so. Ngano man? Because of HCG. Your HCG prevents the rejection of the placenta. The fourth hormone class is your human placental lactogen. This is the cause why we have gestational DM. Ang human placental lactogen is a hormone which has an anti-insulin effect. And this is very important because it makes your baby grow. Para mutubo ang imong bata, kinahanglan kag HPL, which has that anti-insulin effect. To illustrate, kung ako mabdos, mukaon ko 10 pesos worth of pan, palit ko from Julie's, 10 pesos akong gipalit niya, mabdos ko. Pagkaon ako sa pan, I cannot metabolize all of the 10 pesos. I can only metabolize some of it. Nganong some raman, sir? Because naalagi ko HPL, which has that anti-insulin effect. Meaning, pagkaon ako sa 10 pesos, only 5 pesos could be metabolized by me, while the 5 pesos remains in my blood. Such that when my blood reaches the baby has the remaining 5 pesos for him to eat, for him to grow. Ka-imagine kung mabdos ko class, unya, wa ko'y HPL ha, mukaon ko pan 10 pesos. Pagkaon ako sa 10 pesos, ako to tanan. I will metabolize all of the 10 pesos. So sa may mahitabo, when my blood goes to the baby, can the baby have something to eat? Can the baby grow? Dili. That's why HBL is known for its anti-insulin effect, making the baby grow. But when mothers have diabetes mellitus or gestational DM, wa sila ka-tolerate sa ilahang HPL. Ni grabe ang ilahang anti-insulin effect. Such that, inikaon ako sa 10 pesos nga pan, I cannot metabolize it because I don't have the insulin. So on my blood remains the 10 pesos of pan. So when this 10 pesos of pan reaches the baby, ang bata wa may diabetes. So siya ni kaon sa 10 pesos nga pan. Siya ni metabolize sa 10 pesos nga pan. So what happens to the baby? The baby grows too big for his age, causing a case of macrosomia. Mao nang kabantay ta nga basta gani diabetic ang mama, ang iyang anak macrosomic. Nganuman, tanan nga gikaon ni mama, gikaon ni baby. Okay? Kay si mama dili makametabolize sa iyahang gikaon nga glucose because of the severe resistance to insulin. Now let's talk about the complications of diabetes mellitus. Class, remember the complications of DM varies depending on the type. Type 1 could lead to diabetic ketoacidosis, while your type 2 could lead to hyperosmolar, hyperglycemic, non-ketotic diabetes mellitus. Let's take this up one by one. Unsa man ang diabetic ketoacidosis? Remember class, ang metabolism requires glucose plus oxygen is equal to ATP, and heat. Okay? This is metabolism. Now, kung naa kay diabetes, naa ba kay glucose musulod into the cell? Di ba wala kay glucose? Meaning, in the absence of glucose, the body will be looking for some other sources in lieu of glucose. So what can you use in lieu of glucose? You will use fats. So kung wa gani kay kaon-kaon, wa kay glucose, ang gamito na to, ang atong mga bilbil, atong mga tambok, mao nang mudaot ka basta di ka mokaon, di ba? Because in lieu of glucose, the body will use fats. But when fats plus oxygen is being used as a form of metabolism, then that will still lead to the production of ATP, that will still lead to the production of heat. Pero naanay waste product class. When you use fats in lieu of glucose, naana siya duha ka waste product. Number 1, that could produce ketones. Mauna nga mutaas ang imuhang ketone level, causing a case of diabetic ketoacidosis. Okay? So when you have too much ketones, mauning na kay fruity breath odor tungod na sa ketones nga waste product sa fat metabolism. Otherwise stated, this could be your acetone breath. Okay? Now, in the aside from ketones as a waste product of using fats, you also produce fatty acids. Delikado ba na, class? Yes, because when you have too much fatty acids, then you will have a case of acidosis. Unsa may epekto sa acidosis? Di ba acidosis can cause hemolysis? Oh, when you have hemolysis, that could lead to impaired oxygenation. So because of this acidosis, how does the body compensate? We blow off carbon dioxide. That's why our breathing pattern is osmosis. Okay? So that is diabetic ketoacidosis. How about your hyperosmolar, hyperglycemic, non-ketotic, diabetic, diabetes mellitus? Hyperosmolar, unsa man ang osmolality, di ba? It's urine flow. Taas kag osmolality, sige kag ihi. Gamay kag osmolality, di ka mangihi. Do you remember DI and SIAD? Di ba in DI, sige kag ihi because your osmolality is high, and sa SIAD, di ka mangihi because your osmolality is low. So meaning, osmolality is urine flow. Kung hyperosmolality, what will be the effect? There will be polyuria. Sige pud kag ihi. Okay? Hyperglycemic. Unsa tong hyperglycemia? Kung taas ang glucose sa dugo, what kind of diuretic is it? It's an osmotic diuretic. And diuresis is a case of polyuria as well. So unsa may complications sa HH and K? There will be severe dehydration. Nga naman, because hyperosmolality causes polyuria, hyperglycemia causes osmotic diuresis or polyuria. That's why the complication is a case of severe dehydration. Now, let's proceed to the complication of DM as regards necrosis of the feet. No? So, natay gitawag og diabetic foot care. Okay? So, kung naay diabetes ang pasyente, ang una gyud nga kasagaran apektado is ang tiil. Nganuman, remember the blood flow is sluggish because of the highly viscous blood. Kay mura ra siyag sirap, kay pilit kaayo ang imuhang dugo. So ang imuhang dugo di maabot dito sa tumoy. Last na maabot dito ang imuhang dugo. Kung masamad na siya, dugay pag yun na siyang maayo. Kay dugay man maabot dito ang dugo. Di ba the dugo has the antibodies. The dugo has the WBCs to fight infection. So ang una yung maigo class is your foot. So how do you manage your diabetic foot? You need to remember basics ta. Unsa man ang basics ta. Basics ta means, number 1, bawal mag-barefoot. Bawal magtiniil ang tao nga naay diabetic foot. Okay? Next, apply lotion. So you apply lotion to hydrate, no, or to moisten the skin to prevent it from breaking. Okay? So apply lotion. Next is the shoes must be well fitted. Okay? Mamili gyud ka comfortable shoes o shoes nga sakar nimo. Letter I, inspect the foot daily. Okay? So that any problem as it occurs becomes detected. Okay? When you choose your socks, it must be made of cotton para na siya cushion effect. Okay? And when you choose your soap, it must be mild. Okay? Then letter T, when you wipe your foot, you must wipe it in a tapping motion. So you tap it dry. Dili pwede nga imong kuskuson ang tiil. And always, basta diabetic foot, avoid hot water. Ano man, di man na sila kay bao nga nagbukal na itong tubig sa kainiton. Ano man, because of the neuropathy. Okay? So now, let's diagnose diabetes mellitus. What are the ways to diagnose diabetes mellitus? Number 1, you can have your random CBG, your capillary blood glucose. Magkuha gani kag capillary blood glucose. First question, you must ask the patient, nikao na ba siya 30 minutes to 1 hour before the procedure? Kay natural, kung bag-o ng kaon imong pasyente, taas gina siya blood sugar. Okay? So sa capillary blood glucose, you assess first if the patient has had its meal for the last 2 hours at least. And when you take your blood sugar test, no, ini-puncture nimo, dapat mag-puncture ka nga rin sa kilid sa imuhang finger pads. Ano man, para dili sakit because the sides of the finger pads have lesser nerve endings. Okay? So when you take your CBG, our normal level is 70 to 100. but some books would say 110, some books would say 120, no? But for our discussion, let's stick to 70 to 100. Number 2, you have your HbA1c, your glycosylated hemoglobin. Sa glycosylated hemoglobin class, well, there is no requirement for fasting. Dili ka kinahanglan mag-fasting kung HbA1c ang test. Sa glycosylated hemoglobin, ang atong purpose of the test is to determine compliance to the regimen, because the regimen in DM is diet modification, exercise, and medication. Kuyog yun ang tulo. So, unsaon man nato pagkahibalo kung ni-stick ba sa plan ang atong pasyente? We look at the HbA1c. Nga naman, the HbA1c will reflect the blood sugar level of the patient for the past 3 months. Tulo ka buwan. Okay? So di gid kapamakak ang pasyente kay kasagaran magud pasyente class basta padung na check up dinha ra magbinuotan, mag-exercise a week before, no, mag-diet modification a week before, but ang HbA1c does not reflect the most immediate sugar level. It tells us the condition of the sugar level in the blood for the past 3 months. Nganuman, because every glucose attaches to the red blood cell and the red blood cell survives for 3 months. So tanawo na to ang glucose level at the red blood cell level for the past 3 months. And the normal glycosylated hemoglobin should be up to 6.5%. So maabot na gani ikag 7.5 or higher, then that is already a case of diabetes mellitus. Okay? Another one, if HbA1c does not require fasting, your FBS or fasting blood sugar requires fasting. So mao ni siya ang type of test nga ingnon ang pasyente nga no meals post midnight. No meals post midnight. Kay ang atong requirement diri nga fasting is around 6 to 8 hours. So sa fasting blood sugar, ang normal na to class is still 70 to 100. Okay? So di na kamukaon after midnight, unya sayo sa buntag, naglinya na ka dito, pakuha kag dugo. Okay? So 70 to 100. Pero kung ang imuhang blood sugar, fasting blood sugar is 100 to 125, ingnon ka sa doktor, uy, pre-diabetic naman ka. So that's pre-DM, 100 to 125. And if it's more than 125, then you will be diagnosed as diabetic. Okay? And last one class, no? You have your oral glucose tolerance test. Unsa man na siyang oral glucose tolerance test? Well, your OGTT amongst all these different test class is the best test or best method to diagnose your DM. Okay? Ang HbA1c is very good because it tells us the condition in the past 3 months. But as the best and the most reliable test for blood sugar testing is your OGTT. In OGTT class, tagaan kag something to drink. It's actually a glucose drink. Okay? And then you will be checked for 1 hour, 2 hours, and 3 hours after. Such that if your blood sugar 2 hours from the time of intake is more than 140 milligrams per DL, then you will be diagnosed as diabetic. Okay? Now, what again is the management for type 1? Insulin. What again is the management for type 2? Oral hypoglycemics. So let's talk about insulin. Okay. Your insulin class is generally administered subcutaneously. So when you administer it, you must rotate it from the different sites, because if you keep on using exactly the same site, madaot na ang imuhang site. And what do you call that condition? You call it lipodystrophy. In such a case, ang kanang imuhang chosen site nga gibunog, dili na siya maka-absorb sa imuhang insulin. That will lead to several complications like your Donn's phenomenon, Somogyi phenomenon, and many other kinds of phenomenon. So insulin comes in different classifications. So aron di ta kalimot na aman ay 5 ka klase ang insulin. Remember, rare, in, love. Okay? Rare in love. Rapid. Regular. in, intermediate, low, long-acting, very long-acting. So 5 ka buok ang imuhang insulin. So just remember, rare in love. And what should you remember, ani nila class? Naaman tay onset, peak, and duration. Pinaka-importante, akong gusto inyong i-memorize is the peak of these medications. Nga naman, because when it comes at its peak, it is the point where the patient is at risk for hypoglycemia. Okay? So unsa may mga example of rapid acting insulin? Humalog, no? Aron di mo kalimot, rapid man, no? Lug, nahulog, lug. Lispro. Lispro. Lispro sounds like bilis. So lug, paspas. Bilis, lispro. Yeah? Aspart. Okay, think of as fast. Aspart, as fast. So tulo, no? Lug, bilis pro, aspart, as fast. Okay? And the peak is 30 minutes to 1 hour. Remember that. Okay? Next is regular. Regular, example is Humulin R. Kung intermediate, Humulin N. Anara na siya. Kung long-acting, Humulin U, meaning ultimate, ultralente. Na siya. So ang regular is Humulin R. And they are usually those kind of insulin which are clear. Okay? Kaya naman tayo insulin nga cloudy. Unsa may cloudy? Katong intermediate. Okay? And I remember my CI asking me, if you have regular and intermediate being given together, which would you aspirate first? Okay? Di ka kalimot, RN, registered nurse, regular, intermediate. So aron di ka kalimot, RN. You aspirate first the clear before you get the cloudy. Kay kung nag-una ka cloudy, insert ni mo na dito sa clear, malubog tong imuhang clear. Okay? So regular, this is also indicated for patients with diabetes, ketoacidosis. Okay? Your DKA. Okay? So DKA, clear, Humulin R, and the peak is 2 to 3 hours. So inigabot sa 3 hours, there will be a severe case of hypoglycemia. Ang intermediate, example sa intermediate is Humulin N, no? NPH. NPH. Lente. Kung saan nabantayan na to, na letter N. No? Humulin N, NPH, lente. Ang rapid, lug. Yumalug. Bilis, pro. Aspart, as fast. Your intermediate, no, will have a peak of 6 to 12 hours. How about your long-acting? Your ultralente. Your Humulin U. These are long-acting, ultra. Okay? And the peak is 12 to 16 hours. And the last one is your very long-acting, like your Lantus. Mora na akong nailhan. Lantus, very long-acting. And it does not peak, but the duration is for a period of 24 hours. Okay? So class, that ends our discussion on diabetes mellitus.